Imagine curing extreme debilitating fatigue, clearing up painful hormonal acne, and reversing this massive 30-kilo weight spike by eating like butter, grilled paneer, and rich Indian pudding.
I mean, it sounds completely backwards, doesn't it?
It really does. Welcome into today's deep dive. We are looking at a story that just completely shatters the whole, boiled chicken and broccoli diet stereotype. Our source material today is this incredibly revealing interview from the Indian Weight Loss Diet by Rich Up platform.
Right.
And it details the journey of Zeba, who is an expat housewife living in Dubai.
It's a fascinating case study, really, because it forces us to re-examine pretty much everything we think we know about nutrition.
Yeah.
Zeba went from a healthy baseline of 50 kilograms, spiked all the way up to 80, and has now successfully dropped back down to 67 kilograms, and she's still going.
Which is incredible.
It is. But we aren't just going to look at what she ate. We're dissecting the physiological traps of caregiving, the very real biological dangers of restrictive fad diets, and the counterintuitive power of using delicious fat-rich foods to literally heal a broken metabolism.
Exactly, because when you hear the phrase Dubai housewife weight loss, your brain probably goes straight to, I don't know, expensive, exclusive gyms or
Private chefs, miracle supplements, yeah.
Right, exactly. But the reality she shares is wildly different. It's a deeply relatable story of eating leftover kid food, hiding behind clothing, and just hitting an absolute physical rock bottom.
Well, to understand the cure, we really have to understand the spiral first.
Right, because her weight gain wasn't this slow, lifelong issue. Back in India, she weighed 50 kilos. She moved to Dubai, had her first baby, and her weight only went up to about 56 kilos.
Which, I should point out, is an entirely normal, stable biological baseline for a postpartum mother. Her system was handling that environmental stress just fine.
But then came the turning point. Her second baby, which coincided exactly with the COVID lockdowns.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the perfect storm.
Totally. In Dubai, a lot of families rely heavily on domestic help for household support. But during the lockdown, nobody was allowed in, so she was suddenly completely isolated.
Just managing the entire household completely alone?
Yes, taking care of a toddler, nursing a newborn, all of it.
If you look at that from a physiological standpoint, you have a system under maximum load. I mean, nursing a baby requires a massive caloric output.
Right.
But because she is also sleep deprived and totally cut off from her community support system, her body enters this state of chronic alarm.
And that alarm triggers some really intense behavior. She was up late at night breastfeeding, so she got hit with this ravenous hunger. Grocery stores and regular restaurants were heavily restricted, but fast food delivery was still fully operational.
Of course it was.
Right. So her husband would order whatever was quick. We're talking burgers, pizza, sodas, and massive portions of kunafa.
Oh, the Middle Eastern dessert.
Yeah, this incredibly rich, syrupy cheese and pastry dessert.
You know, people often frame that kind of late-night fast food binge as a failure of willpower, but it isn't.
It's not.
No, it is the biology of stress. When you're sleep-deprived and highly stressed, your cortisol levels just skyrocket. And cortisol specifically drives cravings for hyperpalatable foods.
So things that are incredibly high in sugar, fat, salt.
Exactly. Your brain essentially thinks you are in a survival scenario, right? So it demands dense, immediate energy. Staring at an empty fridge at 2 a.m., her biological drive for survival was simply overriding any logical intention to, eat a salad.
That makes so much sense. And she mentioned another detail in the source that just hit so close to home for me, the leftover trap.
Oh, yes, the leftover trap.
It's this habit that caregivers fall into, where they eat their children's or husband's leftover food simply so it doesn't go to waste. A crust of toast here, half a bowl of pasta there.
Right.
I call it the human garbage disposal syndrome. Caregivers will treat a guest in their home like an absolute VIP, the best, freshest food.
The psychology behind that is profound, really. In a high-stress isolation scenario, your entire identity becomes centered on nurturing others. Your own fundamental needs just get pushed to the absolute bottom of the hierarchy.
Yeah, you're not consciously deciding to ruin your health.
No, your brain is just trying to be highly efficient. The internal monologue is just, don't waste food, keep moving, feed the kids.
But what is that doing to the body?
Well, metabolically, grazing on nutrient-poor, high-carb leftovers all day keeps your insulin spiked constantly. So you're actively storing fat while simultaneously starving your cells of actual structural nutrition.
And that starvation at the cellular level brings us to her rock bottom moment. Zeba realized she had hit 80 kilos. Now, she is a Muslim woman who wears a niqab, the traditional face veil and modest clothing, and she admits she initially used it as a crutch.
How do you mean?
She thought the clothing hid her body, so she could just kind of less ignore the weight. But then she had this really stark realization. The clothing can hide the fat, but it cannot hide the disease.
Oh, wow. That is powerful.
It couldn't hide the extreme fatigue that made getting off the sofa feel basically impossible.
You see, the cosmetic aspect of weight is so often a distraction from the functional aspect of health. She felt like a 70-year-old trapped in a young woman's body.
She was genuinely terrified of leaving her children without a mother.
That kind of fear is usually the catalyst for radical action.
And she took action. But she panicked. She jumped right onto the fad diet merry-go-round.
Which rarely ends well.
Right. She bought into multi-level marketing supplements for a month. She signed up for various automated fitness apps. One app even came with a personal trainer based in India. But she completely failed.
What happened with the trainer?
She said the app trainer would just look at her food log and casually say, like, okay, well, you ate that, just don't do it next time.
Ah, the illusion of accountability.
Yes. I find this dynamic so fascinating. We assume that throwing money at an app or a professional automatically guarantees a result. Ziba paid for all these online programs and still couldn't make it work.
Right.
It feels like buying a state-of-the-art sports car but having the keys locked inside. The tools were technically there on her phone, but she was entirely stuck.
Well, the tools fail because they are targeting the wrong part of the brain.
What do you mean?
An automated push notification or a casual message from a remote trainer saying, try harder tomorrow, that engages your logical prefrontal cortex.
Okay.
But when you are deeply entrenched in emotional eating, sleep deprivation, and biological cravings, you're operating from the primitive, reactive part of your brain. A gentle reminder on an app cannot override a cortisol-driven biological urge.
So it's just a mismatch.
Completely. It requires an intervention that actually interrupts the behavioral loop, which those apps simply aren't designed to do.
Okay, but the real damage happened when she tried a month-long juice cleanse. She referred to it as a Sattvic diet, but she was doing this extreme, misguided variation of it.
Oh no, just juices.
Yeah. Instead of a balanced traditional Sattvic diet that includes grains, dairy, nuts, her version was entirely juices and vegetables. She completely stripped out all eggs, all milk, all protein, total restriction.
That is a recipe for systemic shutdown.
Wait, I have to push back here for a second. Because juice cleanses are marketed everywhere as the ultimate detox. Celebrities do them constantly. I would assume stripping away all the fast food and dairy would have made her feel incredible, at least initially.
You would think so, given the marketing. But biologically, she was orchestrating a disaster. By removing all proteins and fats, she completely removed her body's essential building blocks.
Proteins from muscle repair, that kind of thing.
Yes, muscle repair, immune function, and creating the neurotransmitters that keep your mood stable. And fats are vital for brain health and hormone production. If you only consume vegetables and juice, you're getting vitamins and a massive amount of simple sugars, but your body has no structural fuel.
So what exactly happens to the body in that state?
Well, Ziba noted severely dull skin and feeling totally drained, right, to the point where she was sleepy the entire day.
Yeah, she was exhausted.
The dull skin is a direct result of lacking dietary fat and collagen-building amino acids. And the extreme sleepiness, that's her blood sugar, violently spiking from the fruit juice and then crashing, combined with a total lack of sustained fat-burning energy. Her body was literally powering down to conserve energy.
Wow. But starving the body of those building blocks explains exactly why her next step felt like magic.
What did she do next?
Because her cells were literally starving for structural fuel, introducing rich fats wasn't a mistake, it was immediate relief. She was exhausted, and she stumbled across a podcast by Richa of the Indian Weight Loss Diet.
Yeah.
Ziba was genuinely shocked
Yeah.
because they were advocating for foods that every other diet on the planet had basically banned. But she was desperate, so she tried their protocol. On her very first day, she dropped 500 grams, half a kilo, overnight.
And her energy
Skyrocketed. She finally gave her endocrine system the dense fuel it was screaming for.
Yeah.
She started eating grilled chicken, eggs, and grilled paneer. She even ate paneer cure, a rich Indian pudding sweetened with stevia and butter.
She was eating butter to lose weight.
Yes. This completely shatters the conventional wisdom that dietary fat makes you fat.
It really highlights a massive misunderstanding in modern nutrition. High-quality fats like ghee, butter, and the fats found in paneer and eggs are highly satiating.
Satiating, meaning they make you feel full.
Exactly. They send a powerful signal to your brain that you are full. When your energy is stable and your brain receives that satiety signal, you aren't scrounging the kitchen at midnight for leftover pasta.
But the food was only half the equation here. The other half was how they handled accountability. Instead of a generic app, she had a human Zoom mentor from the program named Steffi. And rather than telling Ziba to restrict and eat less, Steffi would analyze the photos of Ziba's meals and tell her to add more nourishment.
Add more.
Yeah. Steffi would look at a plate and say, your protein is too low, add more ghee, add more butter, you need to take your omega-3s. Ziba noted that adding those omega-3s and healthy fats completely cleared up her deep hormonal pimples.
If we look at the underlying mechanism of hormonal acne, that makes perfect sense.
It does.
Oh, absolutely. Hormones are literally constructed from lipids from fats. When a woman's body goes through childbirth, breastfeeding, and severe stress, her hormonal baseline is totally disrupted.
Right.
If you then starve that body of fat like she did on the juice diet, the endocrine system misfires, which often manifests as deep cystic hormonal acne.
Oh, wow. So the fat actually healed it.
Yes. The moment Steffi instructed her to increase her omega-3s and healthy dairy fats, she gave Ziba's body the raw materials it needed to regulate estrogen and progesterone. The clear skin is just an outward symptom of internal hormonal repair.
That human element of taking a photo of every meal and sending it to Steffi seems so simple, but it completely changed her behavior.
Because it bridges the gap between the primitive brain and the logical brain that we talked about earlier.
Oh, I see.
When you have to pause, frame the food, snap a photo, and send it to a human being who you know is going to look at it and respond, you interrupt that automatic behavior. You force your brain out of its reactive, craving state and engage the prefrontal cortex. That tiny pause is where you regain control.
And that control is crucial because Ziba still had to execute this diet in the real world, specifically in Dubai, surrounded by a family that was not on a health journey.
Ah, the environment factor.
Right. Ziba brought up what I like to call the Dubai myth. There is this prevalent excuse that living in Dubai makes healthy eating impossible because it's just a haven for fast food and luxury dining.
I've heard that.
But she realized that was just a convenient excuse. Once she actively looked, she found incredible fresh food and protein options everywhere. The real friction wasn't the city. The real friction was inside her own kitchen.
The environment you live in dictates your choices far more than willpower ever could.
Seriously. Her husband, genuinely trying to be nice, would frequently bring home donuts and cakes in the evenings. And Ziba admits she only gets cravings when the food is physically sitting right in front of her.
Of course.
The sheer fatigue of cooking separate, healthy meals for herself while staring at a box of fresh donuts on the counter, it just made the temptation to cheat overwhelmingly high.
This perfectly illustrates the concept of out of sight, out of mind. Willpower is a finite, exhaustible resource.
Right, you run out of it.
Exactly. If you spend your entire evening fighting the visual cue of a donut on the counter, eventually, as you get more tired and decision fatigue sets in, your willpower depletes and you eat it. The environment always wins in a battle of endurance.
And these slip-ups had massive stakes for her. She wasn't just battling the scale, she was dealing with severe medical conditions.
Like what?
By the time her weight hit 80 kilos, she had developed gallstones. Her doctor actually gave her a 6-month window before they would need to decide on surgery to remove her gallbladder. Now, common sense tells us that if you have a gallbladder issue, you should avoid eating fat, right?
That is the conventional advice, yes.
Right. So she was terrified that eating butter and paneer would trigger an attack.
And that fear is a major reason why people stay trapped in a cycle of poor health.
Tell me how that works. Because her mentor, Richa, stepped in and completely re-educated her on this. Richie explained that gallstones are actually caused by unhealthy eating habits and a lack of healthy fats over time.
Let's break down the mechanics of that. The gallbladder's primary job is to store bile, which is the substance your body uses to digest fat.
Okay.
When people go on extreme low-fat diets, like her month on the juice fast, the gallbladder never gets the signal to empty. It doesn't need to release bile because there's no fat to digest.
Oh, so it just sits there.
It just sits there stagnating. Over time, stagnant bile forms sludge, and that sludge eventually crystallizes into stones. Extreme fat restriction actively contributes to the creation of gallstones.
That is absolutely counterintuitive and mind-blowing.
By reintroducing healthy fats, you signal the system to start contracting and flushing normally again.
Wow. Richa even assured Ziba that if the gallbladder eventually had to be removed, she could still digest fats and protein safely. But the gallstones weren't her only hurdle. She also suffers from endometriosis.
That's incredibly painful.
And she admitted that the endometriosis flares up specifically when she slips up and eats sugary treats. So her mentor laid down this massive challenge. 3 months. 3 months of strict, zero-cheat adherence to the protocol to get the endometriosis under control.
Now, we need to be very clear here. You cannot cure endometriosis. It is a chronic condition.
Right, right.
But you can drastically reduce the flare-ups and manage the symptoms by lowering systemic inflammation. Endometriosis is heavily influenced by inflammation and hormonal imbalance.
The way I look at that 3-month challenge is kind of like pausing your life to install a massive software update on your computer.
I like that.
You can't use the computer while it's updating. You just have to sit still, let the code rewrite itself, and fix years of malware and system damage.
Yeah.
If you keep hitting random keys, or Ziba's case, eating donuts, the update keeps failing and restarting.
That is a brilliant way to frame it because it removes the moral failure from the equation. It's not about being good or bad on a diet.
Exactly.
It's simply about giving a biological system the uninterrupted time it requires to clear out the inflammation. 3 months of pristine anti-inflammatory nutrition, high in omega-3s, low in refined sugars, is a profound medical intervention for an inflamed system.
And the intervention is working. Ziba's severe leg pain is already 50% better. Her hair fall, which was causing her massive distress, has almost entirely stopped.
That's wonderful.
But maybe the most inspiring part of her story is the ripple effect this is having on her family. Her new nutritional knowledge has naturally transferred to her children. They are now actively checking their own food and avoiding highly sugary gummy candies on their own without her having to force them.
That is the definition of rewriting generational health. When a mother heals her own relationship with food and stops operating in survival mode, she fundamentally changes the default settings for her children's future.
And Ziba has a very clear path forward. Once she hits her final goal weight of 50 kilos, she will enter a maintenance phase. This isn't a life sentence of being banned from joy. Her mentors are going to teach her how to safely reintegrate carbohydrates like roti, rice, and yes, even her beloved kunafa dessert in a way that her healed metabolism can actually handle.
Because true health isn't about permanent deprivation, it's about earning metabolic flexibility.
Metabolic flexibility.
Yes. Once the biological system is healed and functioning optimally, it can handle an occasional stressor, like a rich dessert, without crashing or storing it immediately as visceral fat.
Bringing it all together for you listening. Ziba's journey is this powerful reminder that weight loss and health recovery are not about punishment. It's not about starving yourself on juices until your hair falls out and your skin turns gray.
No, not at all.
It is about rejecting extreme restriction. It's about embracing highly nutrient-dense foods, including butter, ghee, and paneer, and demanding actual daily human accountability that interrupts your bad habits.
It requires a complete psychological shift. You have to move away from the mindset of restriction and fully embrace the mindset of nourishment.
Whether you are a busy parent juggling toddlers, managing a demanding career, or you are simply someone completely overwhelmed by the conflicting noise of modern diet culture, the lesson here is deeply personal. Think about that dynamic of the household we discussed earlier, the way caregivers treat everyone else versus themselves.
The leftover trap.
Right. I want to leave you with this final thought. Think about how you treat a VIP guest when they come into your home. You give them the most comfortable seat. You offer them the freshest, most beautifully prepared food. You give them your utmost care, respect, and attention.
Right.
If we truly treated our own metabolism, our own daily health, with that exact same VIP status, how would the leftovers of our daily lives change? Next time you find yourself standing in the kitchen, utterly exhausted, about to mindlessly eat a crust of bread or a leftover donut just so it doesn't go to waste, stop and ask yourself, are you treating your body like an afterthought? Or are you treating it like the VIP guest it deserves to be?